I'm given the task of the short introductory talk. Maybe I might go beyond it with your indulgence a few minutes. This is an opportunity to speak to all participants, and I'd like to start by thanking all the organizers and the supporters and the participants as well. The Oriental Institute, when they shared this idea with us, and when the National Defense and Security Council also mentioned this, I was happily surprised, because we were also thinking about doing something like this, and we felt the need. So how opportune it was to hear this from you, and we were thinking about what would be the good time given the crisis here. The earlier the better, so thank you for this initiative. So we gladly supported it, and our ministry, Strategic Studies Center, headed by Professor Usul here, also shared this idea. So Turkish participants are here in good strength. In the same way that we thank Guam Secretariat and the Ambassador for this wonderful, I'm here for the first time, setting. And TICA, of course, the Turkish Cooperation Coordination Agency. And the Kennedy Institute, with whom I'm now meeting, and I hope to continue our cooperation in the future. I look at this gathering as a beginning, and this should be perhaps the start of a series of meetings. We cannot get things done in one day, so we need a process here. Not that Turkey and Ukraine do not know each other, but that there are new conditions and we should adapt and perhaps get more benefit from listening to each other. So in this first round table, I'll listen, I'll try to contribute if there is, if there are questions to the official, regarding the official Turkish position, and try to see which areas Turkey can learn from Ukraine, and try to see in which areas we could share our experience with Ukraine, and how to build upon our, what I believe to be a strong complementarity between the two countries. And as all other speakers said, how could we tap more the potential, a great potential, waiting to be tapped even more. We have a sound relationship, but how can we augment it in different ways? And to do this, of course, the first intellectual endeavor challenge is to analyze and hopefully to diagnose and even offer some problems regarding this regional, even international geopolitical movement, this commotion. This needs to be done. We have to do this like in a bilateral perspective, but not forgetting that it has regional and international, globally even relevance. Even before the crisis, a lot of experts were trying to define the international order, the system. Are we in the post-Cold War period? What is this? And now with this crisis, there's even more challenge to define. And here I think this job cannot be left only to diplomats and foreign ministries, frankly. In fact, it is in these times of turbulence or flux or change, whatever you call it, that we need to also benefit from the world of academics. I'm a strong believer in this cross-fertilization with academics, and regardless of what level of analysis one uses, and it's a perfect opportunity to start doing it between Turks and Ukrainians at a substantive level. I think the crisis does not indicate any single framework of analysis. Probably no crisis does. But you look at what people say, and the first idea is realpolitik has won, power politics. I think that's not a sufficient explanation. It's impossible to understand the crisis in the region and in Ukraine without recognizing the importance of the normative change and ideas. And this is not only related to Ukraine. This also, I think, has some relevance for Russia today and in the future. So as in most other problems, a right mix of realist and I think idealist perspectives are needed. I'm also quite suspicious about presenting grand explanations and grand narratives. It's too premature to, I think, speak about those. We need to see. I'm a strong believer in contingency, so we will see. We will try to understand. We'll try to make more legible, more understandable what's happening around us with the help of experts and us practitioners. There's a Turkish saying which amounts to something like this, which means like from every mishap, from every misfortune, you can get a positive and auspicious result. It has the seeds of something positive. Perhaps the crisis in Ukraine was to an extent inevitable. Perhaps the crisis was artificially delayed. Maybe it had to happen somehow. And had Ukraine perhaps not been led to believe that it had to make a very firm decision, almost like a binary opposition between Europe and Russia, perhaps some of the more negative, the tragic parts, dimensions of the crisis perhaps might have been avoided. But we are where we are, and at least due to the crisis, we know who wants what, who's aiming for what, and who's willing to go how far to do that. So the cards are out there. Despite all the negative outcomes, this is something one can learn from. And obviously one has to be realistic, strong, resolute, and under these circumstances one has to be patriotic, but not revengist, not chauvinist. Given the challenges that Turkey has in its regions, or south of its several regions, the same applies for Turkey as well. In representing Turkey today, I will respond to any questions that might come with the help of my colleagues. But this is a roundtable. This is an opportunity for open discussion, and with that in mind, I think we should go beyond classical political and diplomatic maybe formats. That's why I'm speaking in a freer form. And perhaps this will help maybe overcome some of the what might be called the cognitive biases that we might all have because of our national positions. And when as one observer said, when you are advocate of a strategy, you tend to be selective and you look for evidence that supports your thought, and you tend to discard evidence that challenges it. So maybe by listening to each other, learning from each other, this might be another side benefit of this more frank discussion or series of discussions which will follow, hopefully. In a way, Turkey is rediscovering Ukraine, and Ukraine is rediscovering Turkey, I think. I observe this at the practitioners level too, not to mean that we didn't know each other at all. At least the strategic partnership which you mentioned, for example, is very important. We will continue that. It has to be continued. It has to be fleshed out. And again, another side benefit, there is an increased intellectual interest on both sides which we need to seize further. Agreements, protocols, these are important. We have quite a few of them among us, but we have to flesh them out more than that. One important is, for example, agreement waiting overdue, in fact, is the free trade agreement, which we hope to conclude soon. It will be substantive, but there are others to go beyond signing documents and have some also concrete discussion and interaction. Since participants here know probably the Turkish position more or less, I'm not going to make an official repetition of that. You know our support for Ukraine, our firm position on Crimea. We need a strong and successful Ukraine, and we believe Ukraine has the potential to realize that, and most importantly has the human resources to do that. With good management and governance, Ukraine will do it, and we need Ukraine to do it to make this happen. And you all know that Turkey's NATO membership, EU candidacy, its relations with Russia, also its economic and democratic challenges of its own, which we've been, I think, managing well over the last decade and more. And this is a unique position which Turkey has to offer in our interaction. Now, not to be pretentious, nobody can understand Ukraine more better than Ukrainians. We don't need to lecture Ukraine about their future. We are ready to share our experience. That's it. And see in what areas we could help each other. This could be economic field, economic financial management, energy security, diversification, energy resources, the challenging multidimensional integration process with the EU, with which we have had some experience in Turkey over the decades, with its ups and downs, with its positive sides, but also with the challenge it brings, and the overall foreign policy approach of Turkey to the region, and the way it refutes to make either or decisions in foreign policy, and yet continue a certain line of integrity and principle policy. So this would be one of the things we would try to share, and which is difficult to look at the challenges we're having in our south, which makes everyone, all policymakers, modest, to say the least. We will try to help Ukraine become a safe, independent, productive, democratic, inclusive, and as usual, a multicultural, well-governed country, which is on its way to integration with the EU, but also which is going to have, hopefully, reasonable, non-confrontational relationship with Russia. That is needed, and that's something recognized here. And I stop here and say that I look forward to learning from this first round of intellectual cross-fertilization, which is between academics and between practitioners, but also between Turks and Ukrainians. So thank you again, and I look forward to a good day. Thank you.